How's it going, everybody? My name is Absol and welcome to my channel. This is my Tag der Toten solo Easter egg guide, and before I get started, I want to mention that my recommended class setup is in the description below, as well as my supporting guides and the Easter egg steps that are timestamped below for your convenience. To start things off, go ahead and flip the power switch in spawn, and then for the setup part of this Easter egg, I'm going to show you the exact order that I do things to make this as easy as possible. So go ahead and go to the lighthouse station and collect your 500 points by interacting with the glasses, and now you can go ahead and collect the blue rock. This blue rock can spawn right here on this wall. If it's not there, it's going to be on the right there where I'm aiming, and if it's not right there, it's going to be over to the left where the blue line is. To get this rock out of the wall, you can either melee or shoot it, and then you can interact to pick it up. From this point, make your way to the top of the lighthouse and interact with the hermit, as well as place the blue rock on the dumbwaiter to open up Pack-a-Punch. The totems around the map should now be active as well, and you can also build the shield at this point. I now recommend completing the totem that is next to the lighthouse and collecting that reward, and then moving on to the one that is next to spawn and completing that one. To finish the setup, get the zipline handle, you can go ahead and build the dynamite, and you can flip on the final power switch. After this, now you can set up for the Samantha music box, but I don't recommend starting the trial just yet, but instead make your way out to the balcony and clear this barrier with the dynamite, and you can also go ahead and repair both of the flingers with the gearboxes and build the heat pack. Finally, if all of that is done, now you can get the dials from the hermit that is needed for the next step of the Easter egg. Also, with golden Pack-a-Punch opened up after flipping the third power switch, I recommend getting the upgraded Spitfire at this time. Now you can go ahead and complete the 3rd, 4th, and 5th totems, and even though these aren't required for the Easter egg, they will make the solo boss fight a lot easier. I will have a full in-depth guide on how to complete all of these, as well as the free Wonder Waff linked in the description below. So you should have both Wonder Weapon rewards ready to be picked up in the lighthouse before moving on to this step. So at this point, go ahead and insert your 4 dials in the artifact storage, which is the room right beside the giant red orb. Once all 4 dials are placed, then go ahead and rotate each dial until you hear a ding. Once all 4 ding, then you will start to get a quote from the apothecans. If you're trying to do this Easter egg proper, then there's 4 numbers that correspond to each dial, and I've listed out the color and location for each of those numbers in the top right corner. However, this method is much slower, and it is much easier to just turn the dials until you hear the ding. Anyways, once the apothecant starts to speak, you will eventually get a clue that corresponds to a location on the map. Here is every possible clue that you could get in your game. However, I've also linked a complete timestamped guide in the description below to make this easier and more in-depth so that you can see every location. You will get 3 clues that correspond to 3 parts around the map, and here's a look at my 3 parts that I had in my game. However, it will be random every single time you play. After collecting the 3rd part, then the apothecans will say that you need to find the Seal of Duality. There are 4 possible clues and locations that I've put in the description, as well as it's in my all clues and locations video that I previously mentioned. However, once you find it, you need to melee the chalk drawing or painting that is on the wall in order to reveal a safe. Placing the dynamite on the safe will then blow it open and allow you to pick up the Seal of Duality. Now go ahead and collect Samantha's music box by completing the lockdown, and then you can move on to the next part. Make your way back to artifact storage and place the real vessel down on the barrel in order to make the red orb start bouncing around the room. Now at this point, shoot the red orb in order to make 3 orange orbs burst out of it, and then if done correctly, the room will flash white. Now you need to go ahead and find the 3 orbs that are scattered around the map, and careful not to get too close, otherwise they will respawn. Once you find one, go ahead and throw a snowball at it to turn it blue, and then go ahead and shoot it. There's always going to be 2 orbs spawn in the main area of the map, and then 1 up at the facility. To make it easier to find this, I recommend going to the top of the lighthouse and using the height vantage point in order to spot these a little bit easier. Once you've returned all 3 orbs, now go ahead and repeat the same process by throwing snowballs and shooting the orbs in order to collect them into the vessel. After that, go ahead and pick up the vril vessel and then make your way to the sunken path. You're going to notice a campfire on the left side over here that you'll need to place the vessel on top of. Once the vessel's in the fire, then throw a Samantha music box on the ground nearby the fire, and if done correctly, the flames should turn blue, also despawning all the zombies and triggering an audio quote. Once the flames return to an orange hue, then go ahead and pick up the vessel once again. Now make your way to the top of the lighthouse where the hermit is going to lower down 2 soapstones on the dumbwaiter. Pick up those soapstones and then head back down to the beach. You should notice 2 charred marks in the snow allowing you to place the 2 soapstones. After that, go ahead and buy the lighthouse trap and then wait for the beam to cross over the soapstones. They should turn on fire and allow you to pick them up. Now head up to the facility inside of the human infusion room and place the soapstone inside of this machine. At this point, now you need to make your way over to the decontamination room, and then you should notice another mark on the ground. Place the remaining soapstone on the floor and then buy the ice trap. Once the trap is finished, then go ahead and pick up the stone and then head back downstairs to the human infusion room. Placing the soapstone on the remaining spot should balance out the temperature gauge, turning it to the green section. At this point, now you can pick up the fuse that is in the middle there and then head back down to the lighthouse. You should be able to put the fuse inside of this box in the lighthouse station and then move on to the next part. If the fuse is not going into the box, then I have some bad news. You will have to take it down in order to make this step work properly. If you're watching this guide later on, then I hope that this step has been patched. However, on launch week, this is the only way I've been able to make this work. I hope that this doesn't happen to you, however, not to worry because I've made this guide set up for the boss fight with consideration towards the fact that you don't have an extra life. At this point, I would trade in your secondary weapon for the free Wunderwaffe reward at the top of the lighthouse. At this point, you should have a fully packed Spitfire and the Wunderwaffe. Now make your way up to the top of the facility where you're going to notice a power line on the left and right. Using your scope, you should be able to see a sparking red box, and if you shoot it with the Wunderwaffe, it should make the power line start to spark with electricity. To finish this, head over to the opposite side of the balcony where you will notice the other red sparking box on the other power line right here. Shooting that will complete the first half of this step, and now you can move on to the main area of the map. For this part, there are 3 generators around the map. In order to power them, you need to kill electric zombies nearby. The first being in the lighthouse approach next to the MX9 wallby. You'll notice once you kill the electric zombie that the power lines will start to spark as well. The next location for the generator is up here at the top of the stairs at the entrance of the lighthouse, where it's going to be located right there. And again, killing an electric zombie next to that generator will make the power line start to spark. For the third and final generator is located on the other side of the lighthouse next to the boathouse spawn area. It's located to the right of the Pack-a-Punch machine, and after killing an electric zombie next to it, you will get a quote from Nikolai saying that you've gathered enough power. Now make your way back to the lighthouse station and interact with the door in order to collect the elemental shard. Alright, now it is very, very crucial that you get the Helion Salvo before progressing the Easter egg. You also need to get it fully Pack-a-Punch because you will not be able to Pack-a-Punch after progressing. This gun can be a little bit tricky to get from the box, however, I would highly recommend it for the boss fight to make this so much easier. So at this point, you should have a fully packed Helion Salvo and a Spitfire. So once all of that is complete, now head back to artifact storage, placing the vessel down on the barrel. Now you just need to repeat the step from earlier where you shoot the red orb until 3 orange orbs pop out of it, and eventually the screen will turn white if done correctly. This step can be very, very tricky in solo, especially on a higher round. However, you have your secret weapon called Helion Salvo. So now you need to go ahead and collect the 3 orbs just like you did before, where you throw snowballs and then shoot them with your weapon. Again, 2 will spawn in the main map and 1 will be at the facility. Once all 3 orbs are returned back to the vessel, now go ahead and go back to artifact storage, where again you will throw snowballs at the orbs and shoot them in order to return them back to the vessel. After shooting all 3 orbs, now you can hold interact and pick up the vessel again, and then head back to the sunken path. Now, once again, head over to the campfire where you're going to place the vril vessel on top of the fire. Again, throw a Samantha music box in order to trigger the audio cue and despawn all of the zombies. A friendly tip to not end the round, I recommend taking your last zombie to the water area in order to slow him down, or just running away from this area and returning back as quick as possible. After the audio cue is over, now you can go ahead and interact with the vril vessel, picking it up once again. Now I recommend trading your Spitfire for the Thundergun reward at the top of the lighthouse that you get for completing all 5 totems. Now make your way to Pack-a-Punch and fully upgrade the Thundergun. So at this point you should have a fully packed Thundergun as well as a fully packed Helion Salvo. I would also recommend getting all your perks and a shield before moving on. At this point, make your way to the top of the lighthouse, interact with the dumbwaiter placing the vril vessel, and as soon as it's placed, make your way down to the very bottom floor. This can get very tight quarters very fast, so I recommend using the Thundergun on the stairs in order to make this a lot easier. Once you get to the bottom floor, then just go around the outer wall and train up the zombies until this lockdown is over. This lockdown is a time-based lockdown and not a kill-based, so don't feel obligated to kill any of the zombies. However, this is a good point to level up your specialist if you haven't already. The lockdown lasts for about 2 minutes, and when it's completed, head back up to the top of the lighthouse where you'll be able to pick up the Seal of Duality on the dumbwaiter. Now head to the beach area of the map and insert the Seal of Duality inside of the Pack-a-Punch machine. This will make Pack-a-Punch a soul box where you need to collect about 50 souls. Once you collect enough souls, the blue light will go out and you'll be able to pick up the Seal of Duality. Now head over to the lagoon area and repeat the same process. At this point, it's important to understand that Pack-a-Punch will no longer be accessible at any point in this game. You are also going to want to conserve ammo for this because the boss fight is just around the corner, so a good strategy is to train them up as much as possible and use your Samantha music box. The next location is in Sunken Path, and this one can be a little bit tricky because it's close quarters. The best strategy that I find is to train up by the water and the ledge and then run back towards the Pack-a-Punch machine. After collecting this one, you are on to the final location. So head over to the boathouse near spawn and then repeat the same process. This one is hands down the toughest one because it is very, very close quarters, so I would recommend running up towards the lighthouse and then holding him up and then running back down towards it. I would refrain from using Samantha's music box because it has a very long delay before throwing it and you can get cornered very easily. After finishing that 4th Pack-a-Punch location, head back to artifact storage where you can place the Seal of Duality on top of the barrel and again repeat the same step with the red orb, making it move around the room. This time it is a little bit faster and a little bit tougher, however our secret weapon known as the Helion Salvo will make this a walk in the park. Also, throughout all 3 of these orb steps in the Easter egg, the zombies are infinite, so don't waste all your ammo trying to thin the herd. After your screen flashes white, you will be able to throw snowballs at the orange orbs like you have been before. This time they will not scatter across the map and instead they will just be right here in the artifact storage. So once you throw all 3 snowballs and shoot the 3 orbs, you are on to the next part. After picking up the vessel, head over to the Sunken Path and place the vessel into the fire just like you have been previously. Again, throw another Samantha music box, trying not to end the round, and then you should get the 3rd and final audio cue. After picking up the vessel, you now completed the Easter egg, and the only thing left to do is go to the golden pack-a-punch. At this point, get all your perks, shields, and everything you might need for the boss fight because you will not be returning to the main map. When you're ready, head to the sun deck and then use the flinger to get to the gold pack-a-punch. At this point, now put in the seal of duality into the pack-a-punch machine, and once again it is a soul box. After collecting all the souls, the boss fight will start and the map will turn into a night mode. As soon as this happens, then you'll have to wait a few seconds and then it should teleport you to the forecastle area of the main map. For the boss fight, you're going to be escorting the vessel from the forecastle to the facility, and along the way you're going to be collecting souls. For this first escort, just slowly work your way down the right side of the ship. I would recommend using the Helion Salvo to escort this because it'll kill everything around it and make this very, very easy. Reaching the cargo hold will start the first lockdown where you're going to collect souls and power the device back up so it can keep moving, and I would recommend just running circles around the top, and then once you are done, you can head downstairs to collect the Max and Carpenter. You don't really have to conserve ammo throughout this boss fight because you're going to get a Max and Carpenter at each phase, and also you have the Thunder Gun and the Rocket and your Specialist and the Samantha, so you really shouldn't have to worry about ammo at all. For this next part, you're going to be escorting the device once again through the sunken path. Take this part kind of slow because it can be difficult with all the lava and zombie spawns as well as it being difficult to see. The best method for this is just to blow all of your Helion Salvo on the way over and just hop one little section at a time. Eventually you will end up at the Lighthouse Cove starting the next soul collection. For this section I would just recommend running circles around the edge of the storm and then you can just use your Helion and Thunder Gun to kill all the zombies. After that you'll get your Max and Carpenter and now you can start working your way towards the beach. This escort is much easier than the previous, however when you get to this drop down part, I'd recommend killing the zombies first and then dropping down because I've had it glitch out to where I was trapped on top of them and I got down very easily. You're eventually going to work your way over to the Lighthouse Station where the next soul collection phase takes place. I would also recommend that during this phase you refresh your shield because this will be your last time to actually get a new shield. The Max and Carpenter will drop eventually once you collect enough souls and it'll be on the deck of the Lighthouse Station. Now for the next escort section of this boss fight, you will need to stay with the device on the spiral staircase. This part can get a little bit tricky because you will have to use the zipline during this escort. My recommended strategy is to let the device teleport first across the zipline and then you follow suit. Sometimes you can go a little bit too early and then you'll get trapped outside the storm and end up dying before it ever reaches you. Once at the facility, now you're going to work your way to the human infusion room, which is the big room in the middle, and then that's where the final phase will take place. Once inside this room and the vessel reaches the machine with the soapstones from earlier, it's going to start to close in and around you. At this point, pull out all the stops, use any ammo, everything you've got because this is it. This is the last part of the boss fight and I recommend throwing down your level 3 rags. That way you can just keep it going theoretically with your power kegs or raindrops or something, but it can get a little bit tricky because you can't see outside that storm very well. However, with the level 3 rags, the Thunder Gun, and the Rocket, you shouldn't have any issues. Once the screen flashes white, you are now done with the boss fight, and then you'll have a really long audio cue that you'll listen to, and then you'll be able to pick up the device. Now head back to the lighthouse and then get over to the boat, look back at the lighthouse, and you'll get a really cool in-game cutscene. I'm not going to show it so I don't spoil anything for you guys, but after that, head to the forecastle and interact with the Agarthan device. And that is everything on the solo Easter egg for Tag der Toten. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Absalom, and I hope to see you in my next video.